Am I the jerk for wanting to tell my brother's fiance about the tracking app he secretly installed in her phone that he bought for her? I'm a 22-year-old female. My brother, who's 27, is currently engaged to his fiance, who's 25. He bought her a new phone for Valentine's Day and asked my boyfriend, who's trained in computer software, to install a hidden tracking app on the phone so his fiance won't see it or notice it. I overheard them talking about it, and when I entered the room, they went silent. I waited till my brother left, and then I talked to my boyfriend. He denied having this conversation with my brother first, then admitted to installing the app on the phone. I told him he and my brother were in the wrong because this is a huge breach of privacy. He said he has nothing to do with it and advised me to stay out of it as well. But I said I want to tell my brother's fiance. My boyfriend argued with me about being nosy and intrusive, but told me to stay out of it and let them deal with their own issues. But I thought that it was unfair to my future sister-in-law since she's the one working, paying the bills and rent, and this is how she's treated. My boyfriend told me to GTFO with this attitude and again said I should stay out of it because it does not concern me in any way. I don't know. I feel horrible after hearing about what my brother did, and since I have a good relationship with his fiance, I can't help but feel guilty in wanting to tell her. Am I the jerk for wanting to tell my boyfriend's fiance about the tracking app he secretly installed in her new phone that he bought for her on Valentine's Day? How is the first thought not, oh, if my boyfriend is secretly doing this for my brother's fiance, he's obviously doing this to me or has been already doing this to me? I mean, how is that not immediately the first thing that comes to mind, especially if he's doing it all in secret? It's not like he came to her and said, hey, we're doing this with your brother's fiance. She found out because she overheard them sneaking about, talking about it, and then he wouldn't even admit to it when she came in and then went silent. If I had to guess, there's a very high chance that the OP has had her phone tracked this entire time that she's been together with her boyfriend, who she claimed is trained in computer and software type stuff in order to do this. If you've ever been in a situation where somebody has had this happen to them, where they're being tracked without them knowing it, let me know down below. And also, jerk or not a jerk, and why? Am I the jerk for getting a belly button piercing without discussing it with my boyfriend first? I'm a 22-year-old female and I started regularly working out about 9 months ago. It's honestly been a life-changing decision. I've never felt happier, healthier, and more self-confident than I do now, thanks to me hitting the gym so frequently. I naturally ended up with a toned stomach and some nice abs. Ever since this happened, I started finding belly button piercings very appealing because, in my opinion, they really make a hot abdomen pop. The thought of getting one has always been in the back of my mind, but I just never got around to actually doing it for various reasons. A week ago, one of my best friends told me that she was making an appointment to get her tongue pierced by an extremely reputable local body piercer. Impulsively, I immediately said, all right, this is finally the right time. Get me a reservation as well. I didn't tell my 25-year-old boyfriend anything because I figured surprising him would be way more fun. A couple of days ago, I succeeded in getting my belly button pierced at last after such a long time. I'm absolutely in love with it. When I revealed my new accessory to my boyfriend, he got very mad though. He berated me by saying this is a floozy piercing and that I should have consulted him about it beforehand. He also asked me to take it off, but I firmly told him no way. After that went down, he began giving me the cold shoulder and continues to do so until this day. So am I the jerk for getting a belly button piercing without discussing it with my boyfriend first? The way the boyfriend described here makes it sound like the boyfriend thinks that she, the OP, has no say whatsoever on what happens with her body. I mean, he can express his opinion if he wants, but the fact that he's telling her to do this and do that and that she's not allowed to do any piercings without having any input from what she has to say about it is pretty weird. It seems like that is the beginning of a whole bunch of these type of control related issues that I'm sure will come down the path eventually if this is how it is this early. And the fact that he is seriously referring to her as a floozy for getting this piercing is pretty ridiculous. But let me know what you guys think, jerk or not a jerk, and what would you do? Am I the jerk for not wanting to celebrate my mom on my birthday? I have 3 siblings between the ages of 10 and 18. I'm the oldest, fourth, at 25 years old. Every year, on every single day of one of our birthdays, we're expected to celebrate my mom as well. We've done it since we were little. It was taught to me as giving thanks for caring plus giving birth to us, which I'm all for and I'm grateful as we wouldn't be here without her. The issue is though, it's become less of our birthday and more so of an anniversary for the day that our mom gave birth. birth. Every year on our birthday, our mom gets gifts too. As we got older, we're now expected to get her monetary gifts and not cards or homemade stuff. Just recently was my birthday and I was gifted some much needed clothes and dishware for my new apartment. My dad, however, got my mom a new MacBook. My siblings all got her gifts too. My youngest brother isn't expected to give much, but my 16-year-old sister and my 18-year-old second brother work, so they're expected to give gifts too. My sister pulled me aside before my birthday and said she was sorry she couldn't get me much. She got me a sweater, I love it, and that she wanted to get me more, but our mom was pressuring her to get a certain necklace for her. Apparently, my mom had been dropping hints for months, and my sister was worried our mom would get upset and feel underappreciated if she didn't get the necklace. I asked her how much the necklace was, and my sister said it was $300. I honestly lost it on our mom and chewed into her later that afternoon when my mom opened her gifts after me. I think it's ridiculous for even wanting my sister to spend so much on a gift. My mom started crying and my dad kicked me out. My mom won't answer my calls, but my aunt, my mom's sister, called and said that I was a POS for not respecting my mother and that I am a selfish, narcissistic child for being jealous of the gifts that my mom got. I thought that I was in the right, but now I don't know. It's been over 2 weeks and my mom won't answer my calls. She's been posting on Facebook inspiration quotes about letting go of the toxicity in your life, how blood doesn't equal family, and how hard it is to be a mother. Several family members, aunt, grandma, uncle, and 2 of my cousins are replying to the posts because they are very obviously directing vague comments at me about being a horrible daughter. I don't know what to think now because of how many people are on her side. So, am I the jerk for not wanting to celebrate my mom on my birthday? I've actually never heard of anything like this ever. I've never heard of a mom that wants her birthday to happen every time her kids have a birthday, or the equivalent in terms of the celebration, as some sort of perpetual tax they have to pay in exchange for being carried and born. I mean, the kids here didn't choose to be born. The mother chose to have the kids. But the way this reads is kind of like she just wants to be permanently compensated every single year, 4 times a year, 1 time for each of her kids, plus a 5th time on her own birthday. It just seems weird. I mean, if she needed a MacBook, why even associate it with the birthday of the OP at all? It's the husband that's buying it, so why not just have the husband get that independently of the birthday? I mean, if you need it, you need it. It's kind of like a weird shakedown of her own kids. She's trying to get a $300 necklace from her young daughter. The necklace is probably not a need to have thing like the MacBook, so I don't really understand the reasoning behind how somebody would expect that of their own kids on a regular basis. But if you've ever heard of something like this, let me know what the experience was down below and let me know jerk or not a jerk and why. Am I the jerk for refusing to drive the neighbor's child home from school when he called me the F slur? I'm an 18-year-old in high school. I bought myself my first car this year and I buy my own gas, but my parents let me put the car on their insurance instead of getting my own in exchange for a few chores, including driving my neighbor's child home from school occasionally when the parents are working late. Last Friday, my parents asked me to pick up the neighbor's boy Kyle from school. He is a high school freshman, but he skipped a grade, so he's younger than usual. Maybe better academically, but honestly, he's mature even for his age. Also, for a bit of context, I am a lesbian, and just a week ago, I asked my crush to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. Now, another thing about me is driving. I'm new, and my parents have told me it's really important not to be distracted driving. If there is ever a distraction like my brother misbehaving, I should pull over and not drive again until I can drive without a distraction. They won't let me drive my friends yet, or anyone but my brother and Kyle, because they could be a distraction. So, I was driving my brother and Kyle home last Friday, and Kyle says, "I hear you're a F slur." I had just pulled out of the school driveway and gone maybe 30 feet. I pulled over, parked the car in someone else's driveway, and turned around and said, "Excuse me? What did you just say?" And he goes, "Are you an F slur?" And I go, "I have a girlfriend, but you can't be using that word, ever. Did you hear me?" He said, "So you're an F slur then?" And I said, "Did your father or mother teach you that word?" He said, "No, everyone knows what you are." I asked him where he had learned that word. Was it at home? He said no, he wasn't an R word. He knows what it means. I said if he spoke one more word, I was kicking him out of the car and that I was going to speak to his parents. He said, "What, you're gonna tattle to me like a baby just because I'm stating the obvious? Everyone says it." I started the car again and drove back to the school. I parked there and told him to come to the office with me. He wouldn't. So I walked to the office alone and asked the guidance counselor for help. There was a freshman boy who wouldn't leave my car, was calling me slurs, and he needed his parents to come pick him up or someone to help him find the correct bus. She went out and brought him to the office and I went home with my brother. I told my parents what happened happen, but they apparently got a call from the neighbors first who had been called by the school. They were furious that I caused problems with the next door neighbors, saying that I should have just driven him home and they could have a talk with his parents. I said he was distracting me and they had told me I can't drive with distracting people in the car. And they said I was twisting their words. So, am I the jerk for refusing to drive home the neighbor's child home from school when he called me the F slur? At first, I didn't know what the F slur meant right away, but the story kind of paints the picture of where it's going. The kid was obviously influenced by someone, and I think the OP did what she had to do here without putting the kid in a dangerous environment. I mean, she didn't drop him off on the side of the freeway or something. She just turned around and put him in the hands of adults at his own school, which is a safe alternative to going the other way. And also not putting up with something like that at all to begin with, I think is a good thing for her to learn at this point in her life, rather than just let that continue to happen over and over again and then deal with the consequences later just for the convenience of her parents not having to deal with a dramatic situation that's going to ensue. I think if the parents really took a long, hard look at what happened, they would probably come to the same realization that this is the better outcome than just swallowing whatever it is that is insulting you. I mean, it doesn't have to be this specific scenario. If somebody is trying to berate you and insult you for any reason, why should you have your kid learn to just internalize that and accept it, especially if there is a safe alternative like there was in this case? But what do you think in this situation? Jerk or not a jerk, and what would you do? Am I the jerk for giving my son's new bike away after the prank he pulled on a girl that he was friends with? So I recently found out that my son Jacob, who's 15 years old, pulled an incredibly cruel prank on one of the girls, Ashley, that's in his friend group. I know this girl. She's been to our house and she's even attended Jacob's birthday party about a month ago. She seemed incredibly sweet, if not a bit shy. So when my oldest son Mark, who's 17, came to me and told me Jacob had asked Ashley out on a date as a prank, I was stunned. I, of course, asked how he could know this, hoping as any mother would that it wasn't true. But Mark showed me the family tablet we all use, but mostly my sons do, and it seems Jacob forgot to log out of his chatting app, Discord. I read the long series of messages between Jacob and his friends as they mocked Ashley all through this heartless prank. I was speechless. And that's not even getting into how he was talking. Like he was some thug and not a 15-year-old living in a gated community. At first, I couldn't figure out what to do or how to proceed. I'll admit that I never once imagined that either of my boys would be the type of person to do something like that, but there was no way I was letting this go. So after a day of thought, I decided what was going to happen. First things first, he was grounded. For how long, I'm not sure. Secondly, I'd gotten Jacob a bike for his birthday, but it hadn't arrived until the day previous, and I'd planned to give it to him when my parents came to visit since they'd been unable to make his party. But instead of that, I showed him I knew about the prank and told him he was grounded. I then made him carry the new bike out of my bedroom closet into the car before driving to Ashley's house, him crying the whole way. I'd called her parents earlier and explained everything, and so once we got there, I had him cart it to their front porch and ring the bell. Then in front of me and Ashley and her parents, I had him give a sincere apology and gift her the bike. Even I apologized to her, saying I didn't raise my boy this way and what he did was unforgivable. I also called the parents of the other boys who were part of this little stunt, and they all seemed rightfully horrified by their son's involvement. I felt I'd handle this as best I could. My friends agreed, though once my parents found out that I'd made Jacob give his birthday gift away, they said I went too far. I still feel like what I did was right, but having my parents more or less dogpile on me like this has made me wonder if how I handled it was too extreme. So am I the jerk for giving my son's new bike away after the prank he pulled on Ashley? Somehow this seems like this is going to come back on Ashley in a bad way. Even if not directly, there's going to be some sort of weird resentment, I would assume, from this point forward where nobody's ever going to be happy that she got this bike. And we don't really know that Ashley necessarily even wants that, but all of that is secondary to the fact that this is a really twisted prank, because I'm guessing the OP son is maybe a more popular kid at school and Ashley is maybe not considered traditionally attractive and had a crush on him and they're taking advantage of it just to get a kick out of it. And if that's the case, that is probably something that is going to be hurtful to Ashley regardless if the mother informed her about it or not. It'd probably be a lot worse if she didn't, innocent, but the fact that now Ashley knows that this was all a big trick has got to mess with her mind. It seems like a hard situation because if you do nothing about it, then the kid thinks it's okay, and if you do something about it, the kid, I don't think, is going to see how messed up what he's doing is. So what's the right thing to do? Let me know down below in the comments, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for siding with my boyfriend after he punished my son for asking for money to watch his step siblings? I'm a 36-year-old female, and I've been with my boyfriend, who's 41, for 2 years. He has 3 kids, 6, 12, and 4, while I have a 16-year-old son. The other day, my 12-year-old stepson fell off the stairs and injured his ankle. His dad and I had to get him to the hospital and needed someone to stay with the kids while we were there. My boyfriend told my son to skip his workday and stay with and watch his stepbrothers. When we returned, my son asked my boyfriend to pay him for babysitting his kids. I admit my son doesn't have the best relationship with his stepdad or step-siblings, but my boyfriend and I were shocked by this. My son explained that he had to skip a workday, which cost him to lose money, and asked my boyfriend to pay him for his time. My boyfriend scolded him harshly and told him that staying home with his stepbrothers isn't babysitting and that he deserves no money for it. Plus, skipping one workday won't do much harm, but my son disagreed and kept arguing with my boyfriend, saying that his stepbrothers aren't his responsibility. My boyfriend ended up punishing him and taking away all of his electronics, as well as canceling his birthday months away. My son fought back, talking about how unfair this was, and asked me to get involved. I sided with my boyfriend because I really did not appreciate how my son used this family emergency to his advantage and thought that he'd get money out of helping family out. My son didn't like where I stood in this conflict and accused me of favoring my stepkids to stay on my boyfriend's good side while ignoring the mistreatment towards him. I cut the argument and he's become silent ever since. He even refuses to eat with us or sit with us. So, am I the jerk for siding with my boyfriend after he punished my son for asking him money to watch his step-siblings? I'm assuming the son is living there for free, and if that's the case, maybe there's some sort of built-in responsibilities. But even if that's the case, this kind of thing should definitely be established a lot earlier on. But what would you do if you're in this situation? And let me know, jerk or not a jerk, down below, and why.